Howdy folks, Greyhawk 4x4 coming at you again, your resident vintage gamer. And, wouldn't you know it, it's kind of snuck up on us, it's beer 30. So, yeah, today, nothing exciting, just a regular old, good old fashioned Corona. When it's above 90, 95 degrees outside, and I come home from work, one of these ice cold is amazing. So, today we're going to talk about, we're actually going to do an update on the first edition campaign, the tabletop campaign that we do. As I promised, I'll try and keep up on those. As we are getting closer, as we're ticking down to my magical retirement day from my day job. So, I will try to keep the videos going, not as... They won't be daily like they will be once I retire and so forth, but I'm going to try to keep up on them. So, what we will do is we'll first go through getting you caught up on what happened in the last session, and then I got another little bonus thing I want to show you here. So, as we left off, our heroes had gone back into the Temple of Elemental Evil, and they had gone back through the secret entrance from a farmhouse type deal outside the temple, and they had made their way to the actual door, that leads them down, that drops down into a room below, which is actually in the temple legit. The problem is that there is a basilisk that resides there, and their very first foray into the temple, our gnome illusionist assassin, he was turned to stone by that basilisk. So they knew that it was there, so they were prepared this time, and they used he cast gaze reflection preemptively and was able to successfully turn the basilisk to stone itself using gaze reflection. So then they had he had decided to have a rope tied around him and have somebody drop him down into the room, and what they didn't know was that there was an unseen servant that was there with a sole purpose of, if somebody came into that room that didn't belong, there was oil throughout that chamber, and the unseen servant lights the oil and tries to incinerate them, which is what happened, except the incinerate part, because the gnome reacted fast enough and had them yank him up by the rope, and so he avoided getting burned, but nevertheless that trap went off. That's where we had left off. And so when we started back up, they're at the top again saying, crap, there's a basilisk down there, there's a fire trap, there's got to be some reason that they're protecting this as much. And so they decided, they're hemming and hawing and everything. Well, one of the rangers of the party, Maze, the elf ranger, played by Jonathan, Jonathan plays him, as kind of he wants to be the hero, he wants to be the first in the door type of a deal, and so he jumps down there. He just says, tired of screwing around, and he jumps down there. Well, the way that this encounter is designed, after that fire trap occurs, or if there's any noise of any kind like that, there is an assassin there's a room right there adjacent. There's a door going into a room, and that assassin has a ring of spell storing with 5, count them, 5 invisibility spells. So of course this assassin uses one and goes out to investigate right when he jumps down. So that's important because I made that mistake while DMing, calling the female assassin a male, and Brad, who plays our gnome, he caught me on that and said, "Hey, didn't you already say it?" And I had to read it again, it was definitely a female half-orc assassin. She successfully assassinates the ranger. Like, dead. Just assassinated, dead. And so they're all up top still, and they just see him just drop dead. And then they see this assassin appear for a second, and then go invisible again. Because, again, the ring of spell storing with the invisibility spells. So they're, of course, enraged. They just watched one of their party members literally just die in front of them there. And the gnome decides he's going to cast a, I think it was an improved phantasmal force, which is a powerful illusion spell. And he basically made it so it looked like there was, he said he wanted 10, ranger type, fighter types to appear in the room as if, and he says, hey, our comrade has fallen, we gotta go to his aid, and made it sound like they jumped down there with this illusion of these 10. And if you go way back, if you've been watching if you've gone back in the annals of this channel and watched a lot of the campaign stuff, I had created content at a place called Cauldron, where there was a mass illusion. The whole town was under an illusion. And I want to say he was an alchemist. The alchemist there had created these, or he had figured out a way to take these crystals they had been mining there and enchant them into power crystals and mana crystals. And one of the things that throughout their adventures they found this necklace of these weird crystals, and it turned out to be these power and mana crystals. And basically they had figured out throughout their adventures and investigation that basically what these do is, if you cast an illusion, these basically empower the illusion even more. What's the word I want to use here? It adds to the power of the illusion. And so he had the necklace on, he said he wanted to use it, so instead of 10, there were 15 images of these fighter types that show up down there. So at this, the door, there was another door off this room that flies open. They see it fly open quickly, and everything goes dark. Because there's a high-level magic user in that room who works in concert with the assassin, and he casts darkness. And then basically let the assassin in. And so now they're in there. They've cast darkness. The party had a continual light spell cast on a coin, so they throw that down to cancel out the darkness and so forth. And in that time, the magic user inside the room had cast Dimension Door, and then had ended up outside the chamber in a hallway where he had line of sight. And some of them jumped down into the room. Some of the player characters had jumped down into the room, in addition to the illusion of all these fighters in there. And they jumped down there, and that magic user, he cast Lightning Bolt. And he gets 2 of them and kills 2 of them. So now you've got 3 dead PCs. I mean, they fell into the design of this chamber. They fell into it 100%. There's no way they could have put themselves in a worse situation than the exact circumstances that they chose. So if I'm trying to remember now, at that point, because of initiative rounds and so forth, the illusions can actually do damage. And as long as the person that is the victim of the illusion believes they're real, and there was no reason this magic user would not believe that these were, you know, an invading force, and they kill that magic user. So at that point, and the way the script reads for this character, this assassin character, they will try, this assassin will try to save her skin. And as soon as she sees the magic user goes down, she basically throws down her weapon and says, "Hey, he had me under a charm spell. I was being charmed. I didn't mean to attack your friend. I had no control over my body. That magic user, that bastard, had me charmed, you know." And of course, our player characters are buying none of it, and they just kill her, just like that. Done. And then they have to figure out they got to extradite. I forgot. They started to investigate the room that the magic user was in, and the way it is laid out, and I don't want to give too much of this away because they haven't checked everything in this room, so I'm going to be very careful here how I go about this. But let's just say one of the things that they do check, it's a trap, and it blows up, and at that point, the gnome character played by Brad is like, "That's it. We're out of here. Let's grab what we can off this magic user and this assassin, whatever loot we can, get our dead friends, pull them up, you know, hoist them up, and get them back to town and see what we can do." And so they hightail it, and that's exactly what they do. And then they hightail it back to Devers, the main town. And Mo, played by our friend Stesha, she is a cleric. She is a half-orc cleric of Cuthbert. And Cuthbert, of course, has a temple in Devers. And Mo has been there a few times. And so she decides to take... oh, no, I take that back. Mo was one of the ones killed. Mo and her companion, who was an acolyte that she had proselytized and got him to come into the fold, they were both dead. And so the other characters, the remaining characters, take her and the companion, who I try to remember his name. He's actually a non-player character, but she is using him as like a henchman, you know, acolyte. And they take, it was actually our other ranger that did this. He took them to the temple and said, "Hey, I know they're followers of yours. Can you do anything for them?" etc. And Clarice, who is the NPC there, she's second in command. She says, "Yeah, we'll see what we can do. Let's take them in and let them lie and repose while we talk to the high priest and see what we can do." Bottom line was they both got brought back to life. However, Mo had to pay, once they were back, she had to pay for her follower. She had to pay the fee for him. And then she is now in debt to the church for her resurrection. And she's going to have to figure out how she's going to pay that back, whether it's through deeds or gold or both or who knows what. The ranger who was killed, they actually took him to the Druid Grove in Devers, where Moonglow, who is another player character from the very first time, 20, 30 years ago, whatever it was, who is now an NPC, the Druid of the Grove there. And she's also been romantic with the ranger, the one that's dead now, the one that they're bringing back to her, because he's a follower of Elona, the goddess of nature and love, which is what this druid is a druid of. And she decides that she could reincarnate him but she's worried that he could come back as some type of critter, some kind of animal or something, because it's random. There's no guarantee he's going to come back as a human or an elf or anything else. So rather than that, she decides out of her own pocket, she's going to take him to the temple, and she's going to pay because of their past relationship and so forth. She's going to pay for his resurrection. She probably got a discount, but because of, they're both high-ranking people, the high priest and the druid of the grove are both high-ranking people in Devers. So she probably got a discount, but regardless, she had to pay for it. So the bottom line is all three of them get brought back. And they are now in Devers and figuring out, what they're going to do from there. They, sold some loot, they kept some loot, that type of thing. But the bottom line is that they now know, at least that area that they were trying to go into in the temple, how dangerous it is, and how they're trying to talk about how they're going to prepare for going back, or if they're going to go back, or what they're going to do next. So it was quite the session, because there wasn't all but basically 1.5 rooms that were encountered, but it was a son of a bitch. So you're pretty much caught up on the campaign there. The last thing I wanted to do was I wanted to show you what I got today. This has been hard to find, almost impossible, well, actually impossible to find up. And I got lucky on Amazon. They finally got some more back in. And this is, of course, I'm a big fan of Lego sets. This is the medieval blacksmith, as it says there, the medieval blacksmith set. It has a forge, it has armor, it has the whole bit. And I thought, because my plan is, with all the Lego sets that I have all the Harry Potter ones. And most of them, the Grand Tower, the Astronomy Tower, etc., they're all medieval looking. And so with this and that, etc., I actually have the Haunted House one, that Lego set too. I want to get them all put together, and I have a table that I can get them on. And then in the campaign, if it's appropriate for one of these buildings to be used, I can just use that, because Legos are actually the right scale for D&D. The Legos, the minis for Legos are about the same size as minis for D&D. So I thought I could start doing that, because I love putting Legos together anyway, and I could build like a little, have a choice of buildings to use if needed, on the game mat, to help add some immersion and so forth to it. I just think it would be fun. But with all these sets, I always said, when am I going to have the time to build all the... Oh, wait. That's right. It's only 2 months till my retirement. Darn. I guess that I won't have any more excuses to put these things together, because then I'll have all the time I want. So, anyway, I just wanted to show that to you guys. Let me know what you think about that idea with Legos, especially the ones with medieval buildings and so forth. What's your opinion of that? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? I've been at other games. I've played Top Secret games, the game Top Secret, the role-playing game, with the guy who created the game, Merle Rasmussen. And he uses Legos in that game to show streets and so forth. He's been doing that for years, decades. So, anyway, let me know what you think about that. And cheers. We will catch you on the flip side.